Spotlight.
This is Akashvani. In the program Spotlight, now we bring you a discussion on significance of strengthened India-UK relations. The participants are C. Rajasekhar, former ambassador, and Kallol Bhattacharjee, journalist.
On this edition, we are going to discuss the visit of United Kingdom and Ireland that is being carried out by External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar. And the overall situation of the world is such that this visit is acquiring a very interesting color as well as context. And we are going to discuss this visit in this edition of our program with Ambassador Rajasekhar. Ambassador Rajasekhar, thank you so much for joining us and welcome to the Spotlight.
Thank you very much.
Ambassador Rajasekhar, External Affairs Minister Jaishankar is visiting United Kingdom at a time when there are multiple developments that are erupting in the global capitals, be it Moscow, Kyiv, London or Washington DC, where President Donald Trump has announced reciprocatory tariff for India as well as several other major economies of the world starting from 2nd of April. In this context, do you think commerce and trade is something that is of utmost importance between India and the United Kingdom, especially because London is such a big center of international commerce and finance? So I would urge you first to explain to our listeners about the commercial significance of this visit by Dr. Jaishankar to London.
UK and India have been historical partners, know each other, even going back to the colonial times. So even our present is characterized by the description of comprehensive strategic partnership, and there is bright prospects for our future relations. Even before, earlier we were negotiating free trade agreement between India and UK, and this assumes greater significance for UK, they having exited Europe, Brexit. And also their relationship has not been very strategically harmonious with China. So they are in great need to look at India, which is the largest, most population, 140 plus billion people, 145 crore people, and growing fast. And from our perspective also, that UK holds the key about, as you rightly mentioned, London being the financial nerve center globally. Plus, they have very many technologies directly in England and also across their global connections. So it's very useful mutually to have, especially in the light of President Trump's approach of slightly distancing US from Europe, and also he having views about deglobalization, so to say, by imposing slapping tariffs. So this is a global backdrop of what we say, which is encouraging both India and UK to look at each other with renewed interest. In that context, visit of External Affairs Minister assumes great significance.
The visit which is happening right now will also take External Affairs Minister Jaishankar to Ireland. Since you served in United Kingdom, would you please explain to our listeners about the significance that this particular visit has for India-Irish relationship?
India and Ireland share friendly bilateral relations based on shared democratic values and happy cultural ties and growing economic engagements. So in this context, External Affairs Minister will be meeting his Irish counterpart, Simon Harris, other dignitaries and members of the Indian community. He is there today and tomorrow, 6th and 7th, which is basically an add-on, having gone there and to renew, to boost the India-Ireland bilateral relations and also to exchange notes about regional and global development.
As you are aware that Ireland has been a very vocal proponent of peace in the Gaza conflict, and Ireland has actually sponsored several resolutions which were quite critical of Israeli actions, and it has called for a ceasefire repeatedly, and currently there is a ceasefire which is obviously shaky and it is unlikely to survive beyond the month of Ramadan, but the ceasefire obviously has received support from Dublin as well as from New Delhi. But in this context, do you think India is in a position to support greater Irish engagement as far as the Middle East situation is concerned, and perhaps also team up with Ireland to ensure peace in Middle East?
I think that is the right thing. So, what diplomacy is all about, building coalitions with like minded interlocutors, partner countries, towards promoting peace and security so that prosperity can be pursued. In Gaza, we are also for peace. We don't take any side, this side or that side.
Exactly.
But as Honorable Prime Minister has put, we are on the side of peace. So, it is our endeavor, it's our hope, it's our wish that peace continues, ceasefire continues during and beyond Ramadan. So it is very useful to exchange notes with like-minded friends like Ireland. And sometimes what happens is it is a useful tactic to speak through them also what we cannot directly put across. So it's a established standard diplomatic operating practice. So it will be very useful to exchange notes as to what they are doing because they have been taking active role. And we have great interest also given our IMEC Quad, which includes Israel, and also we want India Middle East Economic Corridor. In all these things, peace is important, and in that context, exchanging notes with Irish counterpart assumes significance.
Ambassador Sri Rajasekhar, the External Affairs Minister is in London, and then the Foreign Secretary is going to travel to Moscow. How do you interpret this?
We are Vishwa Mitra, Vishwa Bandhu, standing for Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, and we stand for good relations with all countries. And of course, Russia is very important. Some time ago, Honorable Prime Minister has characterized, if you ask who is our good friend, child on the street also without batting an eyelid will say that Russia, because we have very long-standing mutual understanding-based relationship. Substantial chunk of our defense equipment originates from Russia. And Russia stood by us in many situations, many circumstances. So naturally, Russia is an important interlocutor. In fact, Russia is becoming taller post this Ukraine developments after assumption of office of President Trump, because he is particularly friendly with President Putin. So Russian stature has gone up. So not visiting Moscow at this time would be a diplomatic default.
Ambassador Rajasekhar, when we look at India-UK relationship, we also have the Indian Ocean here, where the Chagos Island is located, and UK had entered into an agreement with Mauritius over Chagos Island. Do you think that agreement is going to hold, especially because the US has reportedly exercised its so-called veto power about that agreement, because Chagos Island is also important to India?
So we should keep talking to our friends because we have this issue that needs to be harmonized. So we need to keep talking to friends and also friends, common friends who can help us climb these mountains of disagreements. It is important. We intend to continue to be invested in that place and also build on that. So we need to carefully see where are the areas of convergences, how we identify, agree, promote, and build middle ground.
Minister Dr. Jaishankar's visit, of course, at this time, it also mentioned in the joint statement as well as in the tweet that Mr. Jaishankar has put out, the issue of Bangladesh. When India and the United Kingdom are discussing the issue of Bangladesh, which is obviously a neighborhood issue of India, how do you look at it, ambassadors, when India takes up neighborhood issue with a country like UK? Does it indicate that UK is so heavily invested, which obviously it is, in Bangladesh, and therefore it is a stakeholder which needs to be engaged?
Let me explain that when there are formal consultations between foreign offices led by External Affairs Minister rank, then the agenda is very carefully through mutual consultation agreed upon in advance. So it reads like this. First, the global geopolitical backdrop, then number two, regional issues, then bilateral. So whatever sequence, but basically in these three layers, discussions or consultations are done. On that subject of regional relations, the host will take the lead and explain how Europe has been developing, what are the major issues, concerns that from UK's perspective, and they request our perspective about our neighborhood. So that is a usual established protocol. There's nothing to feel anxious or unusual about it. It is the usual practice between strategic partners. And naturally, Bangladesh is matter of interest. One, that UK has been invested in Bangladesh, and they have been a major development partner also. Secondly, politically, an elected government was displaced through mass popular unrest. So the diplomatic relations get ruptured in this kind of unusual development. So it's natural that London and Delhi would exchange notes as to what's happening and how to harmonize their interests. So nothing unusual about it.
When we look at India-UK relation, one issue that we always have to contend with is, of course, the issue of past. But as the two countries are moving towards the future where President Donald Trump and his maverick decisions are going to leave a long-lasting impact, what is your assessment of the Trump administration's strong assertion of policies in various fronts, and how these policies, especially in finance and tariff and in diplomatic practices, how are these practices going to impact India and the UK?
Diplomacy is all about identifying convergence points and work on them and build middle ground. Say, naturally, President Donald Trump having one mandate on certain electoral promises, he would like to proceed. But there are several silver linings. The first one is that India-US, we don't have a acrimony or discord between our relations. Second thing is that he seems to be according great priority to Quad. That's very nice thing for us also. It suits us because Quad means there is no spat and fair share. Each one, all the four will be shouldering the burden.
Now, just take a look at what External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar had to say in his public statements during his visit in London.
I think from President Trump's perspective, the one big shared enterprise that we have is the Quad. And the Quad is an understanding where everybody pays their fair share. So there's no spat about who's paying for whom. There are no free riders in Quad. So that's a good model for which works, which was restarted during President Trump's first.
And the third thing is geo-economically, Trump stands for stable, affordable energy prices. So it's very conducive for us that to have stable and affordable energy prices so that our economic development is not derailed. Finally, the China factor. So he has moved closer to Russia so as to focus more on China. And finally, the wedge between US and Europe within the Western Bloc, it has the potential, if we utilize the opportunity, to propel India's standing in the world as an important pole so that, we can have greater say in the global developments.
Ambassador, when we look at India and UK, as far as the Ukraine crisis is concerned, we find that UK is a major influence in keeping the war in Ukraine going. UK and Ukraine have also entered into a framework defense agreement which aims at Russia as a hostile power, and it basically looks into the future where Russia would continue to be a major adversary for UK and Europe. But India, on the other hand, including Prime Minister Narendra Modi, has called for peace. Do you think India and UK can work together on ensuring peace in Ukraine in the current circumstances?
Sure, that is the challenge. That is the test of our diplomatic skill and competence. So it's simply because we have good relations with Russia and UK has strained relation, it would be childish to approach that India-UK friendship, India-UK relations through the prism of UK-Russia. That would be a disservice. The challenge, rather skill, would be to ensure that the UK-Russia relationship does not adversely impact on India-UK relations or India's ability to contribute to peace in Europe. So that's the endeavor. So that's very well appreciated because India is one, large and fast developing economy. Two, that we are playing our cards skillfully, that we explain, articulate our positions, that we mean well, we stand for peace.
In this program, we of course discussed the ongoing visit of External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar to UK and Ireland. We hope to catch up on some other topic. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You are listening to a discussion on significance of strengthened India-UK relations. The participants were C. Rajasekhar, former ambassador, and Kallol Bhattacharjee, journalist. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of Akashvani. You can listen to it on our mobile app News on AIR, This program is also available on our YouTube channel, News on AIR Official. You may share your feedback about this program through email at airnsdtalks@gmail.com or WhatsApp on 928-909-4044.
Spotlight.